Welcome back to the story Capsule. Today's story is the continuation of The Clockmaker's Secret, Episode 2. The cuckoo clock sat on the counter, silent once more, its red-capped bird tucked away inside. Clara Bell stood with a note still in her hands, reading the words again and again. To find what's lost, rewind the time. She said it aloud, softly, as though hearing it might help it make sense. But riddles were rarely direct, especially not when they came from Arthur Harper. Setting the note aside, she began exploring the shop more deliberately. There was something in the air now, not just dust, but possibility. It clung to the beams and shelves, settled into the corners where sunlight didn't reach. Behind the counter was a narrow doorway that led to the back of the shop, the workshop. She hesitated only briefly before pushing it open. A familiar scent hit her instantly. Metal fillings, varnish, and the faint sweetness of old tobacco, her grandfather's pipe. The workshop was just as he would left it. Tools still lay on the long wooden bench. Loops and gears and tiny screwdrivers were tucked neatly in drawers. A magnifying lamp hovered over a velvet-lined tray where a disassembled pocket watch rested in mid-repair, as if time itself had stopped mid-breath. Clara approached the bench and ran her fingers along the edge. She remembered this place. She would sat here as a child, swinging her legs and watching her grandfather work, entraced by the delicate world of ticking hearts he built with his hands. Then she saw it, another clock, small, elegant, with a polished cherrywood frame. Unlike the others, this one wasn't mounted on a wall or tucked on a shelf. It stood in the very center of the workbench, almost like it was waiting for her. She leaned in. It wasn't ticking, but as she reached out to touch it, she noticed something strange. Its hands were moving backwards, slowly, silently. A soft click echoed from within the clock. Then another, and then the back panel swung open with a quiet creak, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside, wrapped in soft cloth, was a tiny brass key. Not a winding key? No, this one looked more like a drawer key. Next to it, folded neatly, was a piece of aged parchment. Clara unfolded it and read the note written in that same unmistakable hand. Begin where we ended, the drawer below the world. Clara furrowed her brow. Below the world? She whispered. She looked around the room. On the wall opposite the bench hung a large, detailed map, not of the earth but of constellations. The night sky, drawn in sweeping arcs and dotted with inked stars. Beneath it stood an old wooden cabinet she hadn't noticed before, perhaps because it blended so perfectly into the shadows. Kneeling, Clara found a row of drawers at the base. She tried the brass key. The third drawer from the left gave a satisfying click and slid open. Inside were more papers, blueprints, letters, diagrams of intricate clockwork systems. But one thing stood out among them, a photograph. Black and white, slightly faded. It showed a much younger Arthur Harper holding a clock that looked remarkably like the one on the bench, standing beside a woman Clara didn't recognize. On the back of the photo was a single name written in pencil, Eleanor. Clara stared at the name. Something stirred in her memory, a story her mother once told her long ago about a woman who had vanished. But she had never heard her grandfather speak the name. The clocks in the front of the shop were ticking now, slowly, rhythmically, as though something had begun to awaken. Clara rose to her feet, photograph in hand. The pieces were shifting. A trial was unfolding. Her grandfather hadn't left her a shop, but he had left her a puzzle. And somewhere within the gears and chimes and the hands of time was the truth. Clara had taken her first step into the mystery years in the making. Who was Eleanor? Why do the clocks tick in reverse? The answer lie buried in the past, and they are waiting to be found. Don't miss the next episode of The Clockmaker's Secret. To be continued.